A woman, 32F, I knew in 3rd grade keeps inviting herself to my, 31F, house. This girl, we'll call her Kara, was a close friend of mine in the 3rd grade. She had a shaky home situation. Her parents were young and worked a lot. They weren't home much. Her older sister was in high school and was into drinking, smoking, drugs, boys. Kara idolized her older sister. I used to sleep over their house a lot. Kara always wanted to watch horror movies like Freddy Krueger, Scream, Hockey Mask Guy, etc. They gave me nightmares and scared the hell out of me, and she kept playing them. She was that wild extreme kind of friend who would be like, let's pierce each other's ears. She loved playing truth or dare. The older sister would have boys over and they wouldn't bother us. We once filled a pumpkin with spray paint and threw it off a bridge onto some train tracks. The parents were never home. I don't know if I'm doing a good job conveying what it was like with my spotty memories, but she was just an extreme friend for my 8 to 9-year-old personality. I'm more quiet and reserved. We went our separate ways after the 3rd grade. We hung out once in high school. I don't remember what we did really, just that she was a lot and I didn't click with her. Starting in high school, she got addicted to heroin. She had her first child in high school too. She went to jail for a while because her and her boyfriend were stealing from people's houses to buy heroin. She has 3 children now from 3 different men and her mother has custody of all of them. I heard she managed to quit heroin but now does Suboxone. I think that helps you not do heroin but has its own downfalls. I don't know much about it. She's always posting pictures of herself and her friends looking high. After high school, I moved across the country. I got married, bought a house, had a kid. I'm pretty boring and just living a regular suburban lifestyle. Kara and I are friends on Facebook. She's made comments about how rich and successful I am. I'm not, and just been friendly and complimentary. She messaged me a few months ago saying how much she missed me and she wanted to come visit me when this pandemic was over. I didn't even mark it read. I didn't know what to say, so I just ignored it. She just commented again on one of my pictures describing how much she missed me and wanted to fly out and visit me. It's just weird since we aren't close. I'm not comfortable with hosting her in my home. I don't know her that well and what I do know is kinda sketchy. I don't know if I should just continue to ignore it, reply politely, pretend to be interested but never actually make plans, tell her no, block her? Maybe it wasn't necessary to include the backstory. I really do wish her the best. I know addiction is a disease. Maybe her past isn't relevant to why she wants to see me and I'm a mega jerk. I'm so caught off guard by someone I barely know being this forward and don't know how to respond. TLDR, lady I knew in 3rd grade keeps inviting herself to visit me. I live across the country. She has a history of stealing and drug use. I don't know how to respond. Maybe she's just lonely and nostalgic, but the fact that she brought up your income does not bode well for her intentions. Know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily the case that she needs money for drugs, but being real here, she needs money. Best case scenario is you have a virtual stranger in your home asking you or guilting you for money. Worst case scenario is she rips you off. I wouldn't meet up with her at all. If you do decide to see her, just don't let her into your house. Make up whatever excuses you must, but don't. Also, you'll be paying for dinner. I'd be very wary. You were friends briefly 20 years ago. Just steer clear. You don't owe her anything. I'd be wary too, especially given her addiction issues. It seems like she's under the impression Op is rich, and she probably is compared to the friend, and is hoping to rekindle the friendship and gain access to her home. I suspect because she wants things to steal to help fund her drug habit. You should probably block her on everything. Honestly, nothing good can come from this. She probably has enough information. They have a good idea on where you live. I think you need to protect yourself. You don't have a relationship with her, and her intention is solely based off her perception of your life. Her perception is inaccurate and it sounds like she wants to live with you. Honestly, block her from everything before she actually tries to visit, because things will get much worse if she does show up. I'd unfriend her quietly and just ignore. It sounds like you have photos of your house online that gives certain people ideas about your wealth. Perhaps it's time you remove those or reevaluate what you exactly show online. Before COVID, this was how many thieves made inventories of what exactly to steal. When the owner announces their vacation plans, it sounds like the vacation is now being planned at yours. This sounds to me like she wants to either mooch off of you or perhaps steal from you because she thinks you're rich. You don't owe her anything. If you have no desire to have a friendship with this woman, you'd do best to block her from all your social media. My parents didn't wish me happy birthday after asking me to stay home for my birthday. When I was 11, I instilled the importance of remembering my family members' birthdays. I forgot my mother's and she cried about me not even writing her or card. I felt horrible. Throughout the years I have spent many birthdays alone. I have a very tumultuous relationship with my parents. I used to rely on them to get everywhere, and if I upset my mother, she wouldn't take me to celebrate my birthday or birthday plans she backed out on. After this I stopped spending all holidays with family and instead with friends. This year I had plans, but my mom asked me to stay home. Against my better judgment, I did. Neither of my parents wished me happy birthday. I woke up alone. They both got home around 5 after work. My dad came home, said hi, talked shit about my mom, went to his room, and that was that. My mom came home with dinner. The person got the order wrong, which tanked her mood. I always tell my parents I don't want anything for my birthday, but that doesn't mean I don't want to feel like it's my birthday. I got my mom AirPods for Christmas. What did she get me? Not even a card. I expressed to her all of the love and support that I was receiving today from friends. How I handled a situation today that made me really proud. And it just felt like she was in the mood to argue, but very passively. She fell asleep around 7:30, woke up and went to bed. I feel so damn lonely. And I've spent months quarantined alone and never felt like this. It makes me feel like I've felt on every birthday in the past. I don't know why. I had a great day despite spending my birthday alone. My friends showered me with love, but the realization that neither of my parents is going to wish me a happy birthday is leaving a gaping aching hole in my chest. I just feel so sad when I'm with my parents. Too long didn't read. Mom asked me to stay home last week for my birthday because she hasn't celebrated it with me since I was younger. Neither of my parents wished me a happy birthday. This sounds like it's less about the fact that they didn't wish you a happy birthday and more about the fact that you are feeling unsupported, unloved and unwanted on a special day. Totally valid feelings. I'm sorry, heart. It sounds like your parents are too wrapped up in their own drama to empathize with you. Wishing you well and glad you have friends who see your beauty and worth. Fuck them. Celebrate you on your terms. Enjoy the people who show you they care. They are your family. Happy birthday. I'm sorry, Op. It sounds like your mom is very emotionally manipulative. Of course you should remember your parents' birthdays, but if I'm reading correctly you were literally an 11-year-old child when you forgot hers. It's completely unreasonable for her to hold you to adult standards at that age. Also, to use your birthday as a tool to punish you for upsetting her is pretty messed up. Parents should celebrate their children, and I can only imagine how unvalidated and unloved this would have made you feel, especially when you were young. It sounds like there are other factors at play here. Perhaps your parents resent you for living a really happy, fulfilled life without them, filled with friends who love you. It can be super tough to replace the love and validation we seek from our parents with other sources of love and validation, but it sounds like you should focus on your chosen family. Spend your birthdays with those who make you feel special. Your parents are narcissists, and the fact that they held this over your head from age 11 is abusive. Behavior like that would be damaging to any child. Happy belated birthday. Keep your friends close to your heart and go where the love is. My family sided with my abusive ex-husband. Should I let them back into my life? Long story short, I married a man who turned out to be a psychopath. No empathy, extremely emotionally abusive, gaslit and emotionally crushed me daily until I was almost dead. He used taking my family's home as a way of forcing me to stay in the relationship. I faced death several times near the end of it and afterwards. It took 2 years after I divorced him to recover my physical health after the stress, with numerous visits to the ER and 40+ doctor's visits, infections, etc. I still suffer from constant anxiety and insomnia after surviving it. During the separation, I confided in my family about the abuse. I was clear and upfront about what was happening. My dad decided to do things that made it more difficult for me to successfully save my home and get rid of my ex, even though I explicitly asked him not to do those things before he did them. My dad disbelieved the abuse and threw tantrums at my home, trying to make me say the abuse was a made-up story. He's done other things since to actively sabotage my recovery, like withdrawing finances, dissuading contractors from helping me finish my home, calling me a joke, etc. My mother was MIA throughout, more on that in a second. My brother-in-law and sister have a business that is the sole supplier to my abusive ex-husband's business. My ex relies on that business as his only means of income. Without being supplied by them, he would have to fold. We're well known in our town and hold sway over the locals, especially next to outsiders. It's closed here unless you know someone who will vouch for you. And my ex is a grifter with no ties here. He's a parasite. Without the support of my family, he'd have to go home. He's also a predator looking for vulnerable people to exploit, and once he'd moved here, he realized he'd hit the jackpot. A small town with trusting folks, many elderly, widows, etc. that he could take advantage of as his clients. My brother-in-law and sister could have prevented that. When my separation happened, my brother-in-law and sister disbelieved that I had been abused, demanded that I prove it, encouraged me to stay with him, doubled down on supplying my ex's business, and continued to be social with him. I want to note the amount of business my ex was bringing my family's business was negligible, so finances were a non-factor in the decision. Had they been loyal to me and stood behind me, stopped supplying him, etc., there's a 90% chance my ex would have gone back to his hometown, thankfully, 3 hours from here. They didn't do that. They took extra steps to make sure he remained close by and continued to be a lethal threat to me, and a threat to vulnerable locals. When all this happened, I cut ties with my family. Obviously, I've been no contact with them for the past 4 years. I developed a new set of family and friends, pulled myself out of the abusive isolation, changed careers, finished my house, healed. I've never felt happier or healthier. A little on how we got here. My mother has narcissistic personality disorder. My dad is her victim/enabler, and he's developed his own abusive habits over the years. My childhood was extremely abusive with my mother at the helm. That's why I ended up marrying a predator and not seeing the signs. In my family, I was the scapegoat and my sister was the golden child. My mother in this equation is probably enjoying this and pleased I'm no longer part of the family, so we'll leave her out of this. Here's my question. In the first 2 years of no contact, my family thought it was a big joke. They didn't take it seriously, made me out as a joke to people in my community, etc. They were in denial and repeatedly ignored my requests to stop dropping in unannounced. They acted like this wasn't happening and everything was normal. Then my sister had her first child, I wasn't there for it, and things started to sink in a little bit. They finally stopped trampling my boundaries. No contact, stopped dropping by unannounced, and my sister finally started taking on a tone that might loosely be recognized as atonement. None of what she said has resembled a meaningful apology or empathy for me or what she did, but truthfully, I think that may be a stretch for a narcissistic family. She has actually typed the words "I'm sorry" in an email. So there's that. My dad, last week, did the first thing ever that was, 1. Kind. 2. Considerate. 3. No strings attached. 4. Guilt/tantrum free. That's a big deal, and I wonder if he might be starting to get it. He's the only one that has painfully tried to keep connected and made efforts these past 4 years, though he is undeniably a toxic person. They all clearly want me back in their lives. Where do I go from here? Too long didn't read. My family chose my abusive ex-husband's side when I divorced him, which caused me grave harm. 4 years later, they're regretting it and want me back in their lives.